Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a story that has absolutely shaken the foundation of one of the world's biggest education boards. We are unpacking the unprecedented CBSE 2026 marking crisis. We're going to look at exactly how a massive digital system failure impacted millions of lives, and then we'll break down the gripping Supreme Court public interest litigation, or PIL, that followed. Trust me, we have a lot of fascinating and, quite frankly, shocking ground to cover today. So let's kick things off with a question that'll probably make you do a double take. How exactly did over 5 lakh extra students fail their exams? We are talking about hundreds of thousands of futures completely derailed here. And it wasn't because the exams suddenly got way harder, but because of a computer error. I mean, imagine studying for 2 whole years, giving it absolutely everything you have, only to have your destiny dictated by a technical glitch that nobody even warned you about? Well, that's the reality we're breaking down right now. To really wrap our heads around this crisis, we've got to talk scale. 18.5 lakh. That is the massive number of Class 12 students who sat for their board exams in 2026 across 120 different subjects. And for the very first time, the entire evaluation process for these 18.5 lakh students was handed over to a brand new, totally untested digital marking system. Basically, every single one of those students became a participant in a giant technological experiment. To put that into perspective, just look at the numbers. The historical pass rate from 2025 was a solid 88.39%. But in 2026, under this new system, it plummeted down to 85.20%. Now, a drop of 3.19 percentage points might not sound earth-shattering at first glance, but in the context of CBSE history, this is massive. It marks the sharpest single-year fall in recent memory, and it accounts for those extra 5 lakh student failures we just talked about. Okay, so what exactly changed in 2026? Well, the board introduced something called on-screen marking, or OSM. It's a digital system where your physical paper answer books are scanned and evaluated by teachers on a screen, all routed through this private portal. And the whole process was outsourced to a private vendor known as OnMark. It sounds incredibly modern and super efficient on paper, right? But as you'll see in a second, the reality was vastly different. Let's break down how this is actually supposed to work, because understanding the mechanics is absolutely crucial to pinpointing the breakdown. First, the student writes in a physical paper answer book. Simple enough. Second, that book goes through a scanner. Third, those digitized images are uploaded to the private vendor's server. And finally, fourth, those images are sent over to a teacher's laptop for grading. It's a 4-step chain. And you know what they say? A chain is only as strong as its weakest link. And here is where things get really wild. Before a single real exam was ever evaluated, there was a massive, glaring red flag. The OnMark system actually crashed during its own mock drill. Let that sink in for a moment. The system literally failed its practice run, and yet it was still officially rolled out to evaluate the real-life futures of 18.5 lakh students. The warning signs were right there, but they were completely ignored. So, they go live, and the results were an absolute disaster. Exactly 68,000 answer sheets came back from those scanners completely blurred. We're talking pages scanned sideways, answers physically cut off the screen, text that was entirely unreadable. Yet, because the physical papers were already gone from the teacher's hands, the examiners were forced to just mark these blurred, illegible digital copies anyway. Obviously, there was a massive uproar about this. But when confronted with 68,000 blurred scans, CBSE's official defense at their press conference was, and I quote, that students used light ink. Instead of addressing the scanning technology itself, or, the server issues with the private vendor, the official stance was to just point the finger at the pens the students brought into the exam hall. To make matters even more complicated, the usual safety net was suddenly just gone. For decades, the old system had this highly reliable verification of marks process. It was a genuine safety net that caught marking mistakes. But in 2026, CBSE abolished it through a simple circular. They replaced it with a new setup where students could pay 25 rupees for a re-evaluation. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. That re-evaluation was done using the exact same blurred digital scans. It wasn't a fresh look at the physical paper, it was literally just a second look at a broken image. The fallout from this broken process left 13,000 answer sheets legally and fundamentally defective. But honestly, what's truly staggering here is that those 13,000 affected students, they were never individually informed about it. They literally had to open their evaluated copies and discover for themselves that their pages were totally unreadable. Which brings us to the real tipping point of this whole saga. During the fallout, a senior officer, the ministry secretary, went on camera and stated, "I do not believe there is any need for further re-examination. There is no alternative method for re-examination." This wasn't just them brushing off the students' concerns. Legally speaking, this direct quotation became the pivotal statement that triggered an unprecedented constitutional challenge. Because, when a system fails to correct itself, the law steps in. Enter Advocate Mamta Sharma and M&G Law Chambers. Recognizing that this was way past being just a technical glitch and was actually a matter of fundamental rights, they took the fight straight to the highest authority in the land, the Supreme Court of India. They filed a public interest litigation, officially stepping up to represent the students whose voices were being totally dismissed. M&G Law Chambers isn't just complaining, they have laid out some incredibly clear constitutional grounds for their PIL. They're citing a violation of Article 14, which was triggered by the Secretary's refusal to offer an equitable solution. They're citing a violation of Article 21, and crucially, they are pointing to a breach of Rule 61 of the examination bylaws. They're arguing, very forcefully, that a mere administrative circular absolutely cannot legally abolish a protective bylaw like the verification of marks. So what is the legal team actually asking the Supreme Court to do about it? Well, M&G Law Chambers has three very specific demands to fix this institutional failure. First, an independent audit of all the OSM-evaluated scripts. Second, a mandatory manual reevaluation for all affected students using the original physical papers. And third, full transparency and disclosure of the OnMark vendor contract along with their data security standards. Basically, they are demanding total accountability. Now, if you are watching this and you're an affected student or a parent, listen up, because M&G Law Chambers has issued an urgent action plan for you. Your evidence actually matters for this PIL. Step 1, get on the CBSE portal and download the 100 rupee photocopy of the answer sheet. Step 2, go through it carefully and photograph every single blurred page, unchecked answer, or mismatch. Step 3, keep it safe, document everything, because at the end of the day, the law relies on evidence. But you gotta move fast, like really fast. There is a hard, strict deadline of May 24th. You have to secure your evidence and download those answer sheets before the CBSE portal closes for good. Because once that portal shuts, your opportunity to prove that the system failed your specific exam, it could be lost entirely. So we've seen how a technical oversight escalated into a full-blown constitutional battle. This isn't just about one student's grades anymore. It's about accountability, transparency, and the integrity of an educational system that millions of people rely on. So I'll leave you with this provocative thought. Will your evidence help secure a fair future for 18.5 lakh children? The case led by M&G Law Chambers is really just getting started, and the stakes absolutely could not be higher. Keep learning, keep asking questions, and I'll catch you in our next explainer.